Hello everyone, my name is Steve Alexopoulos, a sophomore sociology student at The Ohio State University. I am accompanied by two of my fellow students, junior Max Bledgy and sophomore Matthew Brewer. Today, we are going to be speaking about the following topic: the global politics of military force and nuclear power. This topic is particularly relevant to us as students, young adults, and other working-class American citizens. How so, one may ask? Evidence clearly shows that since the spending of the U.S. government towards military affairs has increased under the current administration, a large percentage of the U.S. tax income has gone towards military spending. In this video, we are going to be speaking on three concepts related to the topic stated previously. To start off, my friend Max Bledgy has an answer to the following question: why does the U.S. have such a large military presence throughout the world?
Why does the U.S. have such a large military presence throughout the world today? Oftentimes, we take this as a fact of life and don't question it. Is it really just about national defense? Over 800 bases in over 70 countries. Is this just national defense, or does the military play a bigger role in this increasingly global society of ours? What is the role of the military in this day and age? In order to dive into its role today, let's rewind the clock. It's easy to believe that the role of the military is national defense and even offense. After all, that's its purpose, to fight wars. But even as far back as the 20th century, it had a bigger role than just fighting. Karl von Clausewitz explains, war is a continuation of politics by other means. So if the military's purpose is war and war is politics, then we could see that a military is more than an instrument of policy than it is a defense force. This can be seen after the Cold War. The U.S. still maintains a global reach across the world, even though it remains unchallenged militarily. The U.S. spends more than the next 7 highest nations' military budgets combined. This, combined with global economic interdependence, means the U.S. is more than safe from any single nation. Nations use military in this global age not for war but as leverage for political maneuvering. Conflicts between nations are resolved in less violent manners than in previous centuries. Ultimately, political maneuvering via the military has allowed the U.S. to take action other than armed conflict, one among them being economic sanctions.
Furthermore, our next concept is the following. It can be elicited that all wars fought since the latter half of the 20th century have been ideological. Several conflicts following the Second World War exemplify this idea, among them being the Korean, Vietnamese, and Iraq War. The Vietnam War best exemplifies this idea. As opposed to many wars in the past, which had been driven by conquest and mere domination, the Vietnam conflict was motivated by politics and a desire to implement different ideologies within the Vietnamese government. In an article published by the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, one finds the following related quotes. Among the varying factors that motivated U.S. involvement were the desire for re-election by the current administration, the protection of political interests, and concerns about the impact of stability for allies in the region. The article also states the Diem regime repressed suspected communists and the Buddhist majority, two practices of which contributed to the rise of the National Liberation Front founded in 1960.
While we have already made the claim that global military presence allows a nation to further their own political agenda, we can claim that major world powers use their nuclear programs to influence the politics of other nations. It is believed that the Cold War existed solely because of nuclear weapons and how the U.S. and USSR used them. However, we have not seen any usage of these nuclear weapons after World War II except for testing. Therefore, one might argue that this revolution in military tactics is more of a strategic revolution than of a militaristic one. Recently, we have seen major powers placing sanctions on smaller nations' nuclear programs, most notably North Korea. However, sanctions have also been placed on Pakistan and Iran as well. While these actions against the use of nuclear weapons may seem justified, we can see a trend here in which a large world power is placing sanctions on a smaller world power. Using this pattern, we can be led to the belief that these countries are not using these sanctions to protect themselves and their allies. Rather, they are using these sanctions in order to strengthen their own countries. As we can see, it seems nations seem incentivized to having more nuclear weapons, as the nations tend to have more political influence throughout the globe. This creates an ethical dilemma throughout the global society, because while the individual country may benefit from having more nuclear weapons, the global society wants to decrease the amount of nuclear weapons.
Altogether, after presenting these three concepts and the ideas they encapsulate, one can now view worldwide military affairs as a tool of political influence rather than merely a means of national defense or security. This has been shown by the hegemony of the U.S. due to its powerful military presence in other countries on various continents. This continuation of politics has directly influenced the political agenda of other nations, which in terms of global society can have a domino effect on that nation's economic and social issues.